Have you ever caught yourself chasing happiness like it's a finish line? Like maybe if you just get the right job, the perfect relationship, or the ultimate freedom, then finally you'll feel whole. But here's a quiet truth not often spoken out loud. That kind of happiness, it slips away the moment you try to hold on to it. Today I want to invite you to pause with me for the next 20 minutes. Not to chase, but to uncover what real happiness might look like through the lens of Stoic wisdom. This isn't a checklist you breeze through or a pep talk. It's an invitation to sit with some hard, beautiful truths. Ones that, if you let them, will shift how you see yourself, your struggles, and your peace. If you sense that this message speaks to where you are right now, then take a moment to settle in. There's space here to breathe, reflect, and reconnect. And before we begin, if you want to explore this space with me often, quietly and deeply, consider subscribing. This is a corner of the internet where we drop the noise and find clarity together. Stoicism often gets boiled down to be tough or hide your feelings, but it's so much more vulnerable than that. It's about finding freedom within what you cannot control, your thoughts, your reactions, your own heart. In this video, I'll share 5 essential Stoic truths that have helped me find a kind of happiness that doesn't depend on circumstances. I'll be honest, one of these truths shook me to my core. It's the one I return to when everything feels like too much. So if you stay with me, I promise this will be worth it. 1. Happiness is not a goal. It's a byproduct of how you live. Stoics remind us that happiness doesn't come from something external. It comes through living according to your values. I want to begin with something simple, yet profound. So often we're told that happiness is something to chase, like it's a destination on a map. A place you arrive at once you've achieved enough, earned enough, or fixed enough parts of your life. But what if I told you that the Stoics, those ancient thinkers who knew a thing or two about hardship, saw happiness very differently? They didn't see it as a prize at the end of a race. Number for them, happiness wasn't a goal to be hunted down. Instead, it was a byproduct of how you choose to live. That's a subtle but huge shift in perspective. Because if happiness isn't something you chase directly, what is it? It's the natural result of living in alignment with your values. Those deep, often unspoken parts of you that tell you what's right and true. Let me ask you to take a moment. Think back to a time, maybe recently, maybe years ago, when you felt truly at peace. Not because your life was perfect or everything was going exactly how you wanted, but because, despite everything, you acted with integrity. Maybe you spoke up for something you believed in, even when it was hard. Maybe you showed kindness to someone who didn't expect it, or to yourself in a moment of struggle. That feeling, the quiet, steady peace, that's what the Stoics considered a sign of real happiness. It doesn't mean your circumstances were easy. It doesn't mean you were without pain or fear. It means you were showing up for yourself in the way that mattered most. Now, I want to invite you to reflect on this with me. When do you feel most like yourself? Not the on version you show the world, or the version you think you should be, but the real you, stripped down to your core. When does happiness flow naturally, effortlessly, even if just for a moment? This is important because if you chase happiness as a goal, you might end up endlessly reaching, always one step behind the feeling you want. But if you allow it to be a byproduct, a reflection of how you live each day, it stops feeling like something distant or fragile. It becomes rooted, steady, and real. And here's the beautiful thing. This kind of happiness is always within your reach. It doesn't depend on a job, a person, or a perfect situation. It depends on you, your choices, your actions, your commitment to living true. I remember a time when I was overwhelmed, exhausted, and honestly ready to give up. But I made a small choice, just to show kindness to myself that day, to rest when I needed it, to say no to something that didn't feel aligned. That moment, simple as it was, felt like a breath of fresh air. A quiet happiness settled in, not flashy or loud, but deeply comforting. So here's your gentle invitation. Start noticing the moments when you feel like you're living in tune with your values, when kindness, integrity, or courage quietly show up in your day. Because that's not just living, that's where happiness begins. And this is just the start. Next, we'll explore the second truth that deepened my understanding of control and why it's such a game changer for how we experience happiness. So, stay with me. There's more to this than meets the eye. 2. You only control your own mind, and that is enough. It's something we all crave, right? The feeling that we can shape our world, steer outcomes, and protect ourselves from whatever comes our way. But here's the hard truth and the beautiful clarity that the Stoics remind us of. You don't control the world around you. You can't control other people's choices. You can't control the random curveballs life throws. And trying to hold on to that illusion of control, it drains us. It steals our energy. What you can control is your own mind, your thoughts, your perceptions, your response, and that is enough. Take a moment, if you will, and picture the last time something upset you. Was it the event itself, or was it the story your mind told about it? Maybe it was a comment someone made, or a sudden change you didn't expect. Was it truly the thing that caused your upset, or was it the way you thought about it? This is a small but powerful distinction, because your thoughts are the gateway to your experience. They shape how you feel, how you act, and ultimately, how you live your life. Here's the invitation I want to offer you. What if your peace didn't depend on changing the situation, but on choosing how you respond to it? What if instead of exhausting yourself trying to wrestle control away from the world, you learn to gently steer your own mind, to pause, to breathe, to decide? This isn't about ignoring problems or bottling up emotions. It's about reclaiming your power in the one place it truly exists, inside your mind. And here's what I've learned from practicing this. When you take back control of your mind, even the most difficult moments lose their grip on you. Storms may rage outside, but inside you find a calm you didn't think was possible. It doesn't mean life gets easier, but it means you're no longer a passenger on a turbulent sea. You become the captain of your inner ship. So right now ask yourself, what would it look like if I treated my mind as the only thing I truly control? How would I respond differently to the challenges I face? Hold on to that question, because the next truth, coming up, pulls back the curtain on freedom itself, and it's deeper than you might imagine. Stick with me. This journey is just beginning. 3. Freedom begins when you stop chasing approval. Let's talk about freedom. Not the kind that comes from external circumstances, money, status, or achievements, but the kind that feels like a quiet space inside you. A space where you can just be yourself without filters, without hesitation. The Stoics offer a powerful insight here. Wanting other people's approval is a trap. It's a leash that binds your freedom and your happiness. Think back to a moment when you did something simply because it felt right to you. Maybe it was a small choice, a way you spoke, a decision you made, a boundary you set. Even if others didn't agree, or even pushed back, how did that feel? There's a deep kind of freedom in that moment, a freedom that says, I don't need anyone else's permission to be who I am. And yet, many of us carry invisible weights, the need to be liked, to fit in, to avoid judgment. These weights sneak into our minds quietly, shaping our choices more than we realize. So here's the question I want to leave with you right now. What approval am I still giving power to? Who are the people, voices, or even parts of myself that I let decide how I feel, what I do, or who I become? This isn't about being reckless or dismissive of others. It's about recognizing when the need for approval becomes a prison instead of a bridge, when it stops you from living fully, on your own terms. Freedom starts when you step off that leash, when you claim the courage to live in a way that honors you, not just what others expect or want. And here's the truth that's both simple and profound. When you stop chasing approval, you unlock a new level of peace and power, a space where happiness no longer depends on others because it's born from your own integrity. And stick with me, because the next truth, the fourth one, is the one most people avoid, but it's exactly where the real power begins. Keep going. This journey is unfolding beautifully. 4. Accept discomfort as part of growth. Don't run from it. It's something we all know well. Those moments when life feels heavy, when feelings become hard to sit with, when we want nothing more than to turn away. Most of us have learned to avoid discomfort whenever we can. We push it down, distract ourselves, or try to fix it quickly so we don't have to feel the rawness of it. But here's what the Stoics remind us. Real happiness isn't found by dodging pain or discomfort. It comes when we meet those moments with courage and presence. Think about how often you've pushed away those hard feelings. Maybe anger, sadness, or fear. Things you didn't want to feel or acknowledge. And what happened? Did those feelings really disappear? Or did they just linger, sometimes heavier than before? This is the truth. Discomfort is not the enemy. It's a doorway that leads to growth, to deeper self-understanding, to real transformation. So here's a gentle invitation. What if, instead of running from discomfort, you leaned in? What if you held those feelings with kindness instead of resistance? What might you learn about yourself in those moments? What strength, what clarity, what wisdom might surface when you stop avoiding and start embracing the full experience of being human? This is not about rushing or forcing yourself to feel more than you can. It's about slowly creating space for what is, without judgment, without escape. When you accept discomfort as part of the journey, something shifts. The tight grip of resistance loosens. The fear of pain fades just enough to make room for courage. And with that courage comes growth that no amount of avoidance can give you. So ask yourself now, what if leaning into discomfort is the key to a deeper happiness? How might your life change if you stopped running and started embracing? Hold that question gently, because the final truth I'm about to share will bring this full circle. And honestly, it might be the most comforting one yet. Let's keep moving forward. This is where it all begins to come together. 5. True happiness is found in gratitude for what you already have. Stoicism isn't about cold detachment. It's about recognizing the richness in the present moment. Think about something small, maybe overlooked, that brings you joy. A breath, a smile, a quiet moment. Pause here. What if happiness wasn't out there waiting, but already present in the things you take for granted? The Stoics, those ancient philosophers so often misrepresented as unemotional or distant, had a much richer understanding of joy. True Stoicism isn't about detachment from life. It's about deep engagement with the present moment. It's about seeing clearly, appreciating fully, and living intentionally. And one of the most profound practices the Stoics offered us is gratitude. Not flashy, not loud, just simple gratitude for what already exists. Pause for a moment. Look around you. Right now, in this very moment, there are likely dozens of things that are going right. Things that are quietly supporting your life, bringing you comfort, even joy. And yet, because they're familiar, they go unnoticed. The breath moving effortlessly in and out of your lungs, the stability of the ground beneath your feet, the feeling of warmth from sunlight, or the calmness in a quiet room. These things, these small things, are not so small when we give them our full attention. One of the Stoic practices was to imagine losing something they loved temporarily in order to recognize its value. This wasn't morbid, it was clarifying. They called it negative visualization. Imagine, just for a moment, what your life would be like without something you take for granted. The ability to walk, a friend you speak to often, even something as ordinary as clean water or a safe place to sleep. It doesn't take long for this thought exercise to bring a new depth to our appreciation. Suddenly, that which seemed ordinary becomes extraordinary. Happiness, the Stoics would say, doesn't come from acquiring more. It comes from needing less, from seeing the abundance in the present rather than chasing after the future. And modern science agrees. Studies on gratitude show that those who practice it regularly, by writing down a few things they're grateful for, or simply reflecting each day, report higher levels of well-being, better relationships, even improved sleep. Why? Because when we focus on what we do have, we reduce the craving, the comparing, the constant sense of not enough that often drives our discontent. And perhaps more importantly, we reconnect with what it means to live. Not someday, but right now. So ask yourself, what brings you quiet joy that you may have overlooked today? A pet greeting you at the door? The way your coffee smells in the morning? A text from someone who cares? Even the most basic parts of being alive, the beating of your heart, the ability to think, to love, to grow. These are small miracles when you really think about them. Gratitude isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's not about ignoring pain or difficulty. It's about including all of it, the mess and the beauty, and still saying, there is good here. So what if happiness isn't something out there waiting? What if it's already here, waiting quietly in the things you've been too busy or too distracted to notice? The next time you catch yourself chasing happiness in the distance, take a breath. Come back to now. There may be more joy in this moment than you ever realized. Let's gently bring this home. Today we unpacked 5 truths. Happiness flows from living your values, not chasing a goal. Your mind is your only true control, and that control is enough. Freedom begins when you stop seeking approval from others. Growth comes through embracing discomfort, not fleeing it. And happiness already lives in gratitude for the present moment. These aren't easy truths. They're honest. And they ask something from you. To be patient with yourself. To come back again and again. But if you do, you'll find a kind of peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. A peace that quietly strengthens you every day. You're not alone in this journey. We walk it together, step by step, learning how to live fully, deeply, and with heart. Thank you for sharing this time with me. If you're ready to keep growing, I'll see you in the next video.